CandysDirt.com, we have been paying attention to everything happening in the news the last few weeks, the last few months, and we are really, really concerned about all the demonstrations and all the problems that we're having that are coming out in the Black community. And we're looking at it through our usual real estate lens. What does this mean for real estate? Are Black people in Dallas really involved in the real estate process? Unfortunately, they're not. We found out, I did a little research, we found out that about 28% of Blacks in Dallas own real estate. And that is like less than half of what the rate is for white people. And it's very disturbing to me because I'm a big believer in real estate and ownership and home ownership as the basis of creating wealth. So I did the only thing I know how to do, which is start opening the conversation, communicate. I reached out to 4 of my closest friends in real estate who happen to be Black here in Dallas, who are amazing people. I started with the amazing Tommy Wooten, who, as you know, through MetroTex is one of the biggest movers and shakers here in town. He works with Joe Atkins, who is a broker who is just, this guy's gone from selling real estate to his own brokerages with 4 or 5 offices across the Metroplex, and now he's developing. We brought Joe on board. We brought a beautiful woman who I met for the first time and adore. Her name is Tenesha, and she is with Tenesha Lusk, and she is with Keller Williams in Plano. And then a guy who I really like, he is Prime Blankenship, and he is with Realty One Group. And he is someone I met after I ran for city council. We were on a panel together talking about real estate. All these folks know what's going on in the community. We started a very interesting conversation that I learned a lot. You're going to learn a lot. And we're not stopping here. We're going to continue this story. So please pay attention. I know it's long. I know I forgot to hit record right away, but here we go. You're going to love this stuff. It's real talk about race and Dallas real estate here with Candy's Dirt.
I didn't see anything wrong. I didn't know what I didn't know. Okay.
You only know what you know.
Yes. So when I, went to North Texas, graduated, my husband and I bought our first home at 26, and we bought it in Little M, Frisco area. And of course, we were looked at being the rebellion ones because we moved out of the community and moved up north. But here's the catch. Majority of the time when a black family member moves up within a family and moves out and moves on to better themselves, then they get the mindset of, I made it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So
so
when we moved to Frisco Little M, yes, we said we made it, but here's the catch. We looked around and said, where is everybody? Where's everybody else? Because remind you, we were coming from a predominantly Black neighborhood, and we thought it was like that everywhere else.
Oh, wow. Oh.
So we moved up north. And we saw there were only 2 Black families in that neighborhood. We said, where's everybody?
Yeah. Because
I asked that question, then I started researching income, economics, like you said, commercial development, bringing in development to the cities. You start researching that, and I made a promise to myself that as a realtor, all the knowledge that I take, it is my responsibility to give back to my community.
Absolutely.
So they can have the same opportunity. So that way, when they move to a different area, they're not wondering, where's everybody else?
Right.
And just to piggyback that, so I'm on the board for the Franklin D. Roosevelt. They've got a collegiate program there through what's this college downtown? El Centro College. And you'd be shocked. Like, I'm sitting there and talking to the principal, and we're going through things, and we get an intern. I have a paid internship I do every summer for one of those students, because I'm like, they need to see what it's like to make money. And
right.
B, I wanted them to do some work and get some work skills. It was crazy how many of these kids, we're talking high school kids, had never been to a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Wrap your brain around that. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure most of our communities, by the time a kid's in high school, they've been in a Starbucks more than one time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the principal was like, man, you know, if you want to just take them here or there, you know, I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, I'll take them out for a nice lunch or something. She's just like, oh, just take them to like a Starbucks, take them to a McDonald's. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that, you know, like, but it's just shocking, which it goes back to what Tenesha said is you only know what you know. So these kids don't know anything other than just the convenience store in their neighborhood or, you know, going over to their aunt or uncle's house. They don't know about North Park Mall or Willow Bend Shopping Mall or, you know, all the stuff that, you know, a lot of us just take as just normal life.
Right.
So again, this is a deeper thing. Basically what I'm saying, Candy, this is way deeper than just like having like one solution. I mean, this is, you know, like we as a people, as Black people, need to show like our communities like, hey, there's a big world out there, you know, like, and, you know, I had this conversation with a white colleague of mine, and we were kind of talking about, you know, what's going on now. And, you know, I said, look, man, just as many white people there are that are like, oh man, you know, I didn't meet a Black person until I went to college or something like that. There's as many Black people that have the same issue, you know, where they're like, well, I didn't know a white person.
There are far fewer of us who haven't been around.
True. But I can tell you, because I have family that grew up, you know, in deep South Dallas, and they didn't know white people until they got to high school. And I was like, man, I grew up in North Dallas, so I grew up in a pretty for when I grew up, it was very diverse growing up in Lake Highlands, comparative to a lot of neighborhoods. But I just think really it goes back to, like I said, education, and we gotta show people like, hey, you know, wealth, like the way you build wealth, number one way you build wealth in America is through real estate, through buying a house, building equity, taking that to buy another house. And until we get to knowing like, hey, how are we going to build wealth as a nation and people, I just don't know how we move forward.
So using what Joe said and what Tenesha said, I want to give add another angle to that, right?
Okay.
So Tenesha is from DeSoto, right?
Lancaster, DeSoto.
Yeah, DeSoto. Like, yeah. Listen, I've only been here 10 years. It took me like 5 years to understand the DeSoto Lancaster battle. Okay. To understand why people wanted to fight me when I was like, yeah, same thing.
No.
Right? Yeah.
Don't say that.
So to add something to that, there's a lot of families over the last 5 years, a lot of them Black, that have moved. There's a lot of my clients who have moved to DeSoto. And a number of these people moved to DeSoto because they look around, and this is where we say you only know what you know, right? Your environment. Yeah. So they're in either the northern part of Dallas, the number of them are from North Dallas, and they look around, and especially with the environment and things being the way they are, they don't feel as safe in areas where they are an extreme minority. Now, as Tommy said earlier, we lay out everything for the client. The client can determine where they want to go. I think that something that we may see happening is with the awareness of the issues with race in, let's just talk our city. Mm-hmm. With the awareness of the issues with race within our city, we may see a situation where people say, listen, I would prefer to live over here because I don't know if they like me over there. That we may see something like that. Another part of it is when we're talking through the investment part. I like what he said. Like, look, we teach people to invest in real estate. And somebody mentioned gentrification. So how about we teach people how to buy their own neighborhoods? How about you don't have to leave your neighborhood to own real estate. I will teach you to buy your neighborhood and own your neighborhood. Okay? When people talk, gentrification is not a bad thing. Gentrification is simply the value of the real estate going up and people keep selling and buying it. All you need to do is become one of the sellers or the buyers.
Yeah, be the owner of it.
That's it. And make it so that if anybody ever says, hey, Tenesha, we really want this house that you're in because we want to put a shopping mall there. Well, if you are going to give that house up, make them pay for it. All right? That's it. Right? If you're renting and they say, I want to put a shopping mall there, there's nothing you can do. You got to go, you got to rent somewhere else.
Right,
You own that house. Now you have a say-so in this. And if you are going to leave, well, I'll tell you what, how about you put a few $100,000 in your pocket for your troubles?
Yeah.
And go back if that's what you choose to do. But we have to paint that picture for people that you don't have to leave, whether you're in North Dallas or South Dallas. You don't have to leave your area in order to build wealth, change that area or affect that area, help families in that area. It can be done right where you're at.
So I hope you don't mind if I if I kind of piggyback on what you're saying, Prime, because what I do want to say in contract, how much time do we have left, Candy?
You know what? I think we've got another 20 minutes, so go for it, you know?
All right. So I want to agree with you wholeheartedly, Prime. But what we have to realize, of course, is that is for one to buy even at all, but especially, you know, to buy in their neighborhood where the prices are increasing, the values are increasing. It's harder than it's hard for a lot of folks, right? Generationally, what I could say is, you know, for my grandmother, you know, who lived in South Oak Cliff, she owned her home outright by the 80s or 90s. My father grew up in that house through the 60s and 70s. And then came the 80s. So Candy, this is where we kind of got to get into, this is kind of where we have to get into the Black plight story. So when the 80s came, I'll just go ahead and say this. Into a lot of colorful communities came drugs and violence. Okay. Into these communities came you know, things that we can say that it was a lot of people on the right side of things would say, well, that was a democratically ran area. However, I would say that area was still in America. We are talking American problems, not a democratic problem. And when we're talking about people getting Black people getting pulled over in rural areas up here in Prosper, Frisco, we're not talking about that being a Republican problem. This is all an American problem. So we can't separate, you know, oh, that's Democratic land, or that's blue over there and that's red. No, these are American problems. Well, what happened in America, in Black America, is cocaine and crack came in, and it wasn't us that brought it in. I've never, there was not many Black kingpins going overseas and bringing back cocaine and bringing it into the Black communities. There were, I can't tell you of many Black folks that went to Israel or Russia and brought back the AKs and put them in our communities, right? Like they showed up on our front doorstep and they decimated a lot of communities. Now my father was a product.
I mean, who brought them?
Honestly, the government.
No, I didn't want to say it.
I know we're not going to do
them too. Who brought it?
We're not going to dive all the way into that. But the government, for real. You can just go look it up. I'll shoot you some stuff. The government, for real.
Okay. Well, so these negative things were dumped on the doorstep. We wonder why we didn't see these things popping up in what we'll just go ahead and call suburbia or white America, or what we can call it, whatever you want. These things did not show up. You know, when you go into back in the 80s or 90s, I can't remember how long you've been here, Candy, but South Oak. Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, I spent half my life in South Oak Cliff, and it was scary out there as a little kid. You want to be able to walk down the street. Up here, you can, you know, look up. You got kids. You wave to them, you know, and they'll wave back. The same thing happens in the South Oak Cliff. The kids know. They look down right away. They don't want any. It's sad, right? So these back in the 80s and 90s. All right, my father grew up in this era. The 80s and 90s were not great in a lot of these communities. These are the same communities where the adults are our age now, and a lot of which have done well. However, by the numbers, there are so many of us that are not able to make these purchases because of employment, lack of employment opportunities. Right. So we want to be able to talk about purchasing or buying in our communities, but then that's where I say it goes deeper. This is where the racism in America still exists. Systemically, we are not able to to get the same jobs that our white counterparts are able to get into the same schools or the same degrees at the same level that our white counterparts are able to get, which then plays into the amount of money that is coming into our pockets.
Right.
Income, debt to income. Let's just go ahead and talk about knowledge. We are not necessarily, I don't want to say as a people, but by the numbers, not taught the same things. Home ownership, the value of home ownership at the same level, which is why we see that we have our home ownership numbers are not what they are. So it is a generational thing. This did not just happen today. This goes back to the days of redlining, because that redlining did separate. That's a black neighborhood. This is a white neighborhood. Can't put money. I'm not going to put money over there. But it has reverberations today. So I don't say all this to complain. I say all this to put in front of us solutions.
Communication. That's what we need. We need to learn education.
Right. And in all honesty, this is what we need. This is how I put on, when I was chairman of the Diversity and Housing Initiatives Committee for MetroTex in 2017. We had a program called Bridging the Gap.
A great program.
Yeah, thank you. It was I shared along with Prime and Scotty Smith the platform of being able to talk to our real estate professionals about this thing that was redlining and the reverberations that are still here today, and what we can do to try and mitigate those effects.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I touch on that redlining point? I do want to say on the education point that as of right now, statistically, Black women are like the most educated demographic in the country. So demographically, Black women are more educated than any other group. But on the redlining point, I don't know if y'all saw, and y'all might have, everybody might have read it. The study, there were two studies. One study came out early this year. Another study came out early last year or the year before. I don't remember. But in both studies, they were studying, looking for redlining and racism within real estate, okay? The one that came out this year was in New York. They studied New York, and it was based specifically on realtors. Did everybody see that one?
Yes.
I think so. Was that Long Island or?
Yeah, it was Long Island. You could actually watch video of people being discriminated against.
Yeah,
very fascinating study. The one from last year or the year before is, I believe, more insidious in that, to what Tommy's talking about, it actually showed that redlining as it was in the 1950s and 60s is currently happening right now. So they studied multiple banks. These were banks from Atlanta up the East Coast, okay? And when they looked at some of these banks had denied every single Black applicant who applied for a mortgage over a 2-year period. Literally every single one had not given out one mortgage. There were, they showed that the ones who did get approved, they got approved at higher interest rates, but the borrower did not know this, right? All you know is you got approved for a home loan. You don't realize that you got 4.8%, whereas this person that got approved right after you got 3.5%. Okay.
But isn't that illegal? Isn't that illegal?
Of course it's illegal. Yeah. This is 100% illegal. But the problem is, and this is, by the way, I'm not going after any particular administration at all, and I mean that. Okay, because it, like Tommy's right, discrimination happens under every single administration, flat out. So what's happening is the government does not pursue these cases. And when they're found, it's a slap on the wrist. So even in that study, the banks who had literally denied every single Black applicant for 2 years, those banks received a slap on the wrist, and they were, last I checked, they were still in court over, well, there's mitigating circumstances. You had situations where there was a Black woman who, she, over about a year period, kept trying to buy a home. She has the credit. She has the job. She's a W-2 employee, right? She could not buy it. Well, her white wife, she is literally an artist. She sells paintings every so often.
Yeah.
She went into the bank and co-signed with the Black applicant, and they were approved immediately. They let the white one be the front woman for that, and it worked. So these were like, you can, and when I find this, I can send this. If y'all haven't seen this study, it's a very extensive study they did over several years, and I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it. But it shows that redlining through lending goes on right now, all the time. And if clients walk into the wrong bank, or if clients speak to the wrong lender, here's another thing. Lenders will always say, if a client applies and says, hey, I want to buy this house for $300,000, the lender's going to come back and give them what? A yes or a no, right? Well, the lender doesn't say, no, you can't with my bank. They don't say, no, you can't because we have certain overlays or whatever it may be. They say, no, you can't. You can't get approved right now. You need to save more money. Or you need to do this, this, and this. When in actuality, the lender right over there can approve them right now. But that person doesn't know that. And this is where realtors come in to say, no. Looking at what you say you're 640 credit score, you're a 720 credit score, or your DTI, and know how to figure out DTI, which is simple. But your DTI is this. Based on that, these are the lenders who should be able to actually approve you. Based on what your profile is, any of these 5 lenders should approve you. And if they deny you, they're going, and you educate them. If they deny you, they need to tell you exactly why. Not in general.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly why, and it needs to be on paper. Here's exactly why. If they approve you, they need to put on paper, I approve you for these 6 different loan types.
Yeah.
I do that. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we're definitely going to do more of that. I want to make sure that we have, because I think we've touched on 3 really important things today that we can follow up on. And I'd love to do this every so often with you guys, like every couple of weeks, if you guys could. Because I think that, I'm learning a hell of a lot right now that I did not know. And I'm really angry about the redlining in lending because that's keeping people from home. So we're going to follow up on that. What can we do to those lenders? I'm thinking.
You know what? There just needs to be whistleblowers. There needs to be courageous people, and that will blow the whistle.
That really isn't right.
Hopefully one of these days we can get around to talking about us as Black real estate professionals on the residential side, and hopefully we can find some more on the commercial side, because I can guarantee that we've got some stories about being Black real estate professionals here.
Oh, you mean like getting the cops called on you at your own listings because you're supposedly breaking in? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my God. We'll have to tell these stories. But so Tenesha, one of the things that you said, I really want to encapsulate this or capture this, is the education that you think is so important that you have to educate yourself. We can certainly do some of this on Candy's Dirt because that's what I feel we're all about. Mm-hmm. But can you just tell us again what you think the education needs to be? And then we're going to go to Prime. Yes.
Before you start, Tenesha, I'm gonna have to jump off here in a second because
yeah. Let me have.
We got to be at dinner at 5:30. But
oh yeah. So Joe, give us your wrap.
Letting me be a part of this.
Lord, if he can get it out.
My wrap is great conversation. I think like we said, we got to continue this because I think there's more that we can talk about. That
Oh yeah.
little deeper into just things as far as what we're talking about with race and whatnot in real estate. So, but you got to keep the conversation open and the dialogue moving.
Oh my God, I appreciate that so much. Hey, have a great dinner.
Yeah, have a good dinner.
Yes, and stay safe on that beach, okay?
No, we will for sure. We
No
sure.
Mask up, son.
jellyfish, right?
Huh?
Let's go.
No jellyfish.
Oh no, jellyfish. 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart.
6 feet apart. That's right.
All right, y'all take it easy.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're gonna give the mic to Tanisha now so she can tell us about. I thought what you said was so beautiful about the education and if you can just kind of tell from the heart, you know, what you feel about that, it'd be great.
So, I mean, it works in two ways.
Yes.
First, the education is the conversation and the knowledge that you have within your families at the dinner table.
Yes.
Okay. Um,
Husband's
Often
coming home. I'm closing door.
husband, wives,
Yes.
your kids, you're talking about, in the Black community, we tend to talk more about surviving
Mhm.
Ooh,
because
that is true.
that tends to be our life. We're trying to survive. Whereas your white counterparts, they don't have to talk about surviving.
Mhm.
Talk about
So
thriving.
what we have to do is in
Said a
our
lot.
homes, huh?
Said a
They're
lot.
talking. Yeah, they're talking about thriving, not just
Yes,
surviving.
yes,
Go ahead.
For the
Go
most
ahead.
yes,
part.
Sister.
For the most part.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's where, like I said, education works in two ways. The first one is changing the conversations that we have within our household, where we're not just talking about surviving, we're talking about thriving, talking about the benefits of credit, talking about the benefits of leveraging debt, talking about the benefits of not living just for the weekend, talking about benefits of living for your future grandkids, and having a plan to really know about that in it, and also teaching our kids to know their worth. Regardless of where you live, your value isn't based on where you live. You have to know your self-worth.
Right.
You have to know that you are important. So that's what I mean by we have to dig deeper and change our conversation. Stop talking about surviving all the freaking time, because it's beyond that. And when I sit back and I think about my upbringing, yes, were there conversations we talk about surviving? Yes, but it was more conversation of thriving, knowing how to make your money make money.
Right.
And to say, because I'm first generation college. So when my parents are like, you're going to college, yes, to survive, but also to thrive.
To thrive. Mhm.
Okay. So then the second part is bringing the knowledge and the education to our school system. Because some of the Black kids, because they're not having these conversations at home, they're dang sure not having them at school neither. So having programs available to talk about financial literacy, talk about, how to manage money. I mean, when you think about it, you're like, okay, that's fundamental, but it's not fundamental to us because some of us, we didn't have the luxury to have those conversations like that with our parents. So yes, education, education and self-worth. If you don't value your self-worth, then education is not going to matter. So if anything, we have to make sure our kids and our generation understand the value of who they are as foremost human beings. And I make sure that I tell my kids, you have the same opportunity like anybody else. Yes, the color of your skin is going to take you a different route, but you're going to have that same opportunity. It may take you longer to get there. You may have to detour, get off and get back on, but you are going to have that same opportunity where I'm teaching them self-worth. That say, yes, you may see color, but this action going to speak louder than color.
If I can piggyback off that, that's just a word that speaks to my heart, because there's many of us that are experiencing success regardless of the color of our skin, and I think what we need to do is take the responsibility of reaching out to someone who may not be experiencing that. And I think if there is a call to action that I would have, it's for a lot of the folks who are very comfortable, living comfortable, and the life that I'm speaking of. I don't need to get into
Yeah.
the specifics. To be able to reach out into communities, be it the urban league, and I guess if I want to call it a bag of tricks, is to share their bag of tricks.
Yes.
Share
Yes.
share the knowledge about how they got to get where they are. I think there needs this education. Yes, it can come within the home, and it should. However, as I pointed out earlier, with many of the homes that we grew up in, unfortunately, there's a ceiling, and the ceiling, when we look at the rest of America, is somewhat low. We need assistance from outside to come. I don't want to say need, but we would love outside assistance to come in and speak to the people in our communities about, I don't care if it's through the Urban League, or if it's through whatever programs that are put together. I would just love to see. I would love to see more folks from wealthy areas reach out into, and this is the call to action that I think I'm looking at. More areas from the wealthy side of Dallas to be able to reach into the areas that could use more wealth, help, whatever it is, and share that knowledge. Let's have these talks about what Uncle Sam is expecting of you. Let's have these talks about what homeownership is and how that should actually be the bare minimum. No, we're not just trying to own a home, but we're looking to build generational wealth and investment properties and buying companies. Hey, yes, you don't have to look to buy this massive company. You can actually look at, hey, look, you can own this company over here, be it a landscaping company, a window repair company, this or that. Let's have these talks about how to build companies within the community. And I think if we can start to see more sharing of knowledge, because I honestly felt like it was being kept from me.
Yes.
Right. And I'm like, you mean this is going on? You mean these things are going to look like this is going on? Okay. And once I felt like I arrived, I'm like, man, I got to tell my cousins about this.
Mm-hmm.
My cousins had no idea about this level of life that involves, like fun extracurriculars, because we have
you're thriving. You're thriving in your life. You're thriving in your life. You're like, I'm beyond surviving. I'm actually thriving in the life that I'm supposed to be living in.
You know what? I think I might call it that. If I have something I might call the program, it's called Thrive, right? Where we teach our people, and not even if it's just our people, because honestly, there's lots of, and yes, this is about race. But there's lots of people outside of the Black community that are also impoverished. I think there needs to be a sharing of knowledge about how to thrive, right? It's knowledge sharing. And so that's where my heart is. That's where it was when I was chairing the DHI committee, and when we teamed up with the Urban League to try and, get knowledge. Like, yes, we actually went into high schools and we said, into DISD MetroTex, and kudos to MetroTex Association of Realtors. We went into some high schools in Dallas, and we educated them. My thing was, did you know that you could be a real estate professional? Did you know that there are more or less 60 or 70 people that can eat off of each real estate transaction, right? A lot of these kids have never thought about being a realtor or a real estate appraiser or a loan officer or this or that, or, it needs to be talked about, right? Get into real estate. I mean, that's the American dream, right? There's a lack of knowledge about that in the schools.
Well, we need to get it there. We need to get there. I mean, this is beautiful. I mean, this is gonna be long, but I don't care at this point. Prime, two big takeaways that I'm getting from you, plus the fact that I'm going to start asking you to write for us, because you've got so much there. I mean, so much knowledge. The redlining with the the financial aspect that's keeping people from home ownership. We're going to deal with that. We're going to do a story on that, and I'll work with you on that. But also, let's talk about the appraisers again. So there's this. Wait, you're not muted, are you? No. Okay, there you
No.
go. Okay, good. So like, you gotta work with an appraiser for 2 years, right? In order to be
An
a
appraiser.
an appraiser. Okay. And there's like, oh, like 3 black appraisers in Dallas?
And this is me going through a lot of my real estate contacts, trying
Yeah.
to just figure out what it looks like. And that's pretty much what I got. So there might be 10,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
there are not many, but I just think that one of the things we have to realize is that when we look at race in real estate, racism to be more specific, in the real estate space, we have to know that it looks different. Discrimination looks a lot of different ways. So it's not just redlining still exists, but it's not just the redlining. It's what about the values in that area? Who is determining the values in the area, and what recourse do those homeowners in the area have to say, hey, this is a bad valuation, right? And I would argue when you look into it, you're going to find that the recourse you have is very little. You essentially need the person to admit they were wrong.
Yeah, because that's the rung of the ladder. That's the rung that goes up. You got to get the appraisal to get the loan to get the on and on and on.
Yeah.
Good luck getting
And
appraisals changed. You pretty much got to get a whole different appraisal. You can't get that same one.
Right, unless you're FHA, right? And then it's locked in for 6 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you got to get multiple appraisals because it's like you got to prove the first one wrong.
so think about this. So think about when we're talking about barriers to entry.
Right.
Each appraisal is $500.
Yeah.
Right?
We're not paying.
How many people just have $500 to keep trying to get the right person?
Yeah.
Right? When I look at that, so I really do. Tenesha, I freaking love what you said. Absolutely. Every freaking gold, right? And Tommy, I love the whole spirit of what you're talking about, right? And with that, and I took this term from a guy named Maj Touré, and it made all the sense in the world to me. But I'm not Democrat, Republican, or any of that, right? I'm a solutionary, right?
Oh my God.
All about, everything is about solutions, okay? So one, you have to identify what the problems are. So you identify the problems very clearly. So you can't be a solutionary and avoid flat out describing, naming, shining the light on the problem. But you also can't be a solutionary if you stay there.
Right.
So you can't stay at the point of saying, hey, everything is against us. Hey, it's impossible for me to win. It's not impossible, it's freaking hard.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of barriers, right?
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'll be damned if I'm not going to win.
Yep.
Right? And so and that's the mindset I got from listening to YouTube. That's what I heard. So I think our job is to shine light on a problem and to come with solutions. Mm-hmm. To say, I'm going to highlight issues because I don't want you ignorant of the fact that there are a lot of people out here who really, truly want to be part of that American dream, who want to own a home and keep the home, not lose that home in 5 years.
Right.
And a lot of these people, either through lack of knowledge, but a lot of times through flat out discrimination that is within the system, that even a lot of realtors, lenders, and professionals within the system either don't know or want to admit is there. Mm-hmm. Because it's that uncomfortable thing to discuss. And we like to talk, talking about redlining is easy if you talk about it from the standpoint of 1955. But talking about redlining in 2020, you get far fewer people who will actually have that discussion and admit, no, there are people who are not in the house right now in large part due to the redlining that they ran into that they did not even realize was redlining. They just felt that I got denied. They told me I wasn't ready. Right?
Yeah.
I had a lender tell me, and I'm in the business, that I've had people discriminate against me, which you would think they would realize, yo, I do this, right?
Yeah. And he's got a pretty big platform.
You know, like don't, but it doesn't, like, if certain people don't believe that you should be part of this, or they believe maybe you should work harder to be a part of this, because sometimes it's that. It's not that they don't believe you should be a homeowner, but you should work harder. They set up roadblocks. And I don't see how it's even fair to expect the average future homeowner to understand where those roadblocks are, to understand how to navigate them, to even understand when they ran into them. If they don't have ethical people that they're working with who can say, yes, these problems exist, but no, we're not going to allow these problems to stop you.
Yeah.
We're going to work through this to the point that you have keys in your hand, or if you're selling, we're going to work through this to the point that you're from this home into that home. And I'm going to do my best to point out all the roadblocks so we can win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where we're so lucky to have realtors. And I think that one of the things that came out of this whole COVID deal was that people suddenly realized that the let's say the disruptors who don't really service the clients, just like throw something in the MLS and go, oh, okay, we got your home on the market, not going to cost you anything. You know, they really aren't very popular now, because you really need an advocate, you know, and especially now you really need an advocate who's out there, you know, finding you stuff and, you know, going through this and looking at it for you. So now we see that there is another very important role that the real estate agent plays in the Black community, which is getting them, taking them by the hand and taking buyers and getting them that through that home, because there's a lot of landmines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lack of knowledge, but you know, it's, you know, it comes with the territory. What we do, we educate people, Black, white, you know, brown, what have you. You know, homeownership is not just this easy thing. My wife graduated from Texas A&M, and I was the one, you know, I didn't go to a 4-year college. She got out of she got out of A&M and did not know the first thing about how to buy a house, right? This is the majority of people, right? There's a majority of people don't know. Okay, so do I pay you the real, like, I'm buying, do I pay this as a real, like, where's my money going? What do I do? What debt to income? Where's this ratio? Like, all these things that we know, we can take for granted because we're in the industry, right?
Right.
But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people that aren't familiar, but by the numbers, it's just massively skewed.
It is. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, does anyone have, Prime, you may have this because you were like, got all the knowledge there. What is the...
Everybody else does too.
You've got the great links. What is the ratio of home ownership in the Black community in Dallas? I can look it up. I can find it.
I thought it was.
I had that printed out. Do you have it?
I don't have it with me. I don't have it off the top of my head.
We'll put it in when we post the story, but we'll put it up there, so we won't waste our time on that now. But anyhow, I just want to talk about solutions going forward, and I would like to continue this conversation, and maybe we can invite some other guests in, and kind of start this being our little salon that we talk about. And
no, we're inviting you to the barbershop. This is the barbershop.
Oh, it's the barbershop. Okay, I need a cut. No.
Oh my
God. In the barbershop, you get to talk about everything.
This is the barbershop. Yes.
That's why it's the shop.
Hey, Candy,
go to the shop, everything's honest.
You are invited. You are invited. And have you ever been into a Black barbershop before?
No, I gotta go.
It's literally, I think the shop is one of the most honest places you will find in our society. It's, everything is allowed, everything is discussed, and you don't get to be thin-skinned in the barbershop.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let's put it out like this. This was our country club, because for many years, we were not allowed into many country clubs.
Right.
And so the barbershop is where we got to talk about things, you know, and not feel restricted. We got to really just speak freely. So welcome in. I know it's your. Go ahead.
To tie this barbershop into what we're talking about, yo, like one of, it'll be probably about 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, we'll close. But one of the people I'll close here next month is, he came from me holding home buyer and wealth building classes in the barbershop, where they shut the barbershop down, and because everybody comes to the barbershop. So the owner of the shop said, look, we're going to shut it down. And they gave me all the mirrors to use as my whiteboard. And I taught wealth building through real estate to everybody in the shop. And if you're coming through the shop today, guess what you're going to learn? You're going to talk some real estate, right? And that type of stuff, like, people actually have a desire to learn.
Yes.
And this is what I found.
Yes.
Contrary to popular belief, people have a desire to learn. They don't often know where to go.
Yeah.
They may not know where to go, and they don't know who to trust. That second part is huge. They don't really know who to trust. They know that there's traps out there, but they don't know where they're at. And so they don't know if you actually want to lead them right. So if you can gain people's trust, if you prove yourself trustworthy, like, and you say, hey, I'm here to teach you, they will be there and to learn, because they know this is the route. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great. I love that. Trust is so important. And I think a lot of that has not happened in the past. I mean, I think a lot of that's been broken. And I think that's one reason why, you know, some communities have been doing so much better, because finally you've got people in there who are honest and trustworthy. What is it? The farm. What is the farm? My brain is dying now, but the farm down there.
You think of Bonton?
Bonton, yeah, Bonton. Yeah, that a lot of that was based on trust, and about someone who finally went down there and said, I'm going to give you the real story. This is how it happens. And we need more of that.
That we do.
I loved your suggestion too about having more visits from people who've kind of made it in wealth, you know, come down. But you know what? Maybe we can actually do that through the site too, where we could do some, I've always I loved reading personal stories, like how did I become wealthy? How did I do it? You know, reading about successful people, you know, and so we could start, you know, you could start talking to me about some people we need to profile. We'd love to do that. I have taken way too much of your time, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. So thank you guys.
It was good.
Oh, thank you.
The
yes, thank you, Candy.
Okay, so as soon as COVID's over, can you take me to the barbershop?
Yeah, Candy, if you want to go to the shop, I'll take you to the shop.
Okay, we're gonna do it.
I go to mine ain't like the traditional barbershop like I used to go to in South Oak Cliff anymore. So
take them to Prime. Do you know Fruellan's in Oak Cliff?
That's where I got my first. That's where I got my. What? That's where I got my first haircut ever.
My dad still goes there.
What?
Yes.
Mr. Ed was the guy that cut my hair long. I mean, in 1982 or 3. Llewellyn's.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Hey, Tenesha, send me that that name, because actually I gotta go get chopped up anyway. I'm probably gonna go tomorrow, so I'll go through there.
Okay, I'll send it to you. I'll get the contact from my dad.
That's great.
I appreciate it.
That's great. Yeah, one thing, you couldn't go to country clubs, so you went to the barber shop. I love it. Well, you know, I got here in 1980 from Chicago, the Chicago area, via New York and all that. What's so funny is I think I'm the only one who wasn't born here. You guys are all natives.
No, I'm not from DFW.
Oh, you're not? Where are you from?
Originally Florida.
Florida. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's 2 of us. Okay, and we're also the late night people. Like if I want to reach Prime at 2 a.m, he's still
I'm up.
I'm asleep.
Yeah, I'm the first man of you. I'll send you a text right back, like, hey, you know, in the morning. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Totally cool. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Have a great
thank
weekend.
you.
Stay safe. You know.